That's life on planet cowgirl. I'm grateful every day.
Hey y'all, I am Templeton Thompson and I'm very honored. I am getting to perform this weekend at Lynn Palm's Women Luv Horses event down here in Ocala, Florida. And Life on Planet Cowgirl, this TV show, as y'all know, is about this incredible journey that I'm on and the wonderful, amazing people that I meet in the horse industry and in the music industry. And I'm so honored, tickled pink. I'm about 10 right now. I won't tell you my real age, but I feel about 10 right now. And I'm sitting here with one of my heroes in the horse world who I've been dying to meet forever and who's inspired me so much. The amazing Miss Linda Parelli. So this is a real treat. I'm excited. And we're sitting on this incredible
this
bus.
Beautiful Liberty bus.
Oh my God, Liberty Coach. Our buddy Gary's letting us sit in here and cool off. It's pretty warm in Ocala this weekend. So I just want to say, Linda, again, you're such an inspiration to me, and I just love for you to kind of talk about where you're from, how you got into horses, how it all started, this love affair with horses that you have. Kind of talk about that and just sort of see where it goes.
Gosh, well, you know, I'm one of those girls when I can't remember not loving horses. You know, I was born loving horses, which was really strange because my parents had nothing to do with horses.
Really?
Yeah, and I lived in Singapore, and so it wasn't like there were horses in our backyard.
Right.
But I was obsessed. And as a little kid, my parents are from Europe. You know, my mother's from Switzerland and my dad from Scotland. And so we'd go and visit grandparents, and there would be horses in fields, and I'd make my parents, you know, take me over and have a look at the horses there or on the beaches. And when I got when I got a little older, you know, I just kept pestering my parents to let me ride. It's like, I want to ride, I want to ride, I want to ride. And finally, at the age of 9, they let me have riding lessons, and that was in Singapore. So I learned the British method. And I was just in heaven. I loved it. And when I was 12, my family moved to Sydney, Australia.
Okay.
And there were horses everywhere. And so now I pestered them that I had to have a horse. Because they had me convinced in Singapore that you couldn't own a horse, which was not exactly right. But you could own one, but you'd have it at the riding, you know, the big riding schools that were there.
Not right in your backyard.
Exactly. But in Sydney, it was like, everybody had a horse, so you could have one. So I just pestered them until, you know, about a year later, they said, one more word out of you and we're not buying you a pony. And it's like, so you are buying me one.
Oh,
so I got my first horse, and he was a part Arabian little 12 two-hand pony. And he was wild. And I loved him, and we just got on like a house on fire, and I rode it on the beaches and in parks, and it was a beautiful place where I lived. You know, my family lived in Sydney, and so I just had this idyllic, you know, young girl with a horse
riding on the beach.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So then when I was 16, I got another pony because this one was a little small, and so he became a little bit of a hand-me-down. His name was Radar.
Great name.
And he became my sister's horse. And then I got another horse that was 14-2. And now, knowing about horsenalities, he was a very different horsenality from Radar. And he was more like Remmer, left brain.
Okay.
And he and I were at loggerheads because he just challenged me. And so all I knew to do was, you know, be stronger. And we had some rip-roaring fights until one day it all seemed to just, you know, be okay. And I don't really know why. But I just had this will, and I just willed it on him, you know, and finally he gave in. So knowing what I know now, you know, I would have avoided a few accidents if I'd done it differently.
Right.
But then I got very involved in business, and I stopped riding for about 7 years. And I worked in the skincare industry, and I
really?
Yeah, and I became an executive for a company called Ella Bachet in Australia. It's a French product, but that was in Australia. And so I spent 12 years with Bachet, and it was wonderful. You know, I was passionate about it. My specialty was problem skin because I used to have acne, and I learned how to cure it, and I just got really involved in all that kind of thing. And so my ponies, I couldn't get to them. I was really, you know, on the executive pathway. So then finally I got to a place where I went, I got to have horses in my life again. And so I went looking for a horse, and, you know, did exactly the wrong thing and bought the first horse I saw.
Right.
You know, because somebody said, oh, I've seen this really good quality horse, and he's royal show quality, which in Australia was like, must be a beautiful horse.
Right.
And so I went and saw him, and the lady rode him for me, and then I rode him, and she said, look, just walk and trot, because he's not very balanced, you know, at the canter yet. I didn't know she meant mentally balanced. And I just went, well, that's okay, I haven't ridden for a while. You know, so I loved him, brought him home, found out that I'd brought a lunatic.
A wild child.
Yeah, he was, I had a lot of trouble with him. I wanted to event, and I couldn't even stop him from a trot, let alone jump him. So I focused on dressage, which I wasn't at all interested in. And the horse was just so dangerous that it was my instructor said, "You're crazy trying to do anything else. Let's get him more obedient through dressage." Well, 2 years later, my horse was no better. I was still having lots of trouble, and people were kind of saying to me, it's just the horse, it's not you. And I kind of believed them, but there was something inside that I just went, but he's not crazy all the time. It's only when I ride him, and I've got to get to the bottom of this. And things were actually getting pretty bad, and one day, it was recommended that I just sell him, because I had another horse then at that time too, and I was already winning in competitions with him, and this horse, couldn't even get a safe ride on.
Right.
But I didn't want to give up being a girl, I love my horse.
I love my horse, and yes,
I don't want to sell it. Somebody mean might get it,
Yeah.
And so I just thought, well, I'm going to keep him no matter what, even if I just turn him out in the field and feed him for the rest of his life. Right. Anyway, so I was at that point, which was a real crisis, because there was nowhere to go. I'd been to some of the best trainers in the country. Wow. One of them lived just nearby me, and I went there with a friend to watch him, and I was horrified at what I saw. He was so cruel to the horses, and I just went, well, I'm not doing that. To have my horse's dignity taken away like that, and be forced into things. Maybe he gets results, but I'm not going to do that to my horse.
Good for you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it was right around then that I saw a video of Pat in my local tax store. I walked in, I know I was looking for the latest, greatest gadget. I had them all, so, nothing worked.
Right.
And I thought, well, maybe something else has been invented in the last, month. And sure enough, there's Pat Parelli on a video, but I didn't know who it was. I just thought, some cowboy, riding around. I do dressage, so
yes.
English and Western,
Correct,
never the twain shall meet. So I really didn't give it the time of day. As soon as I saw the cowboy hat, I thought, well, that's got nothing to do with me. But as fate would have it, I'm standing, I bought something. I know it wasn't a gadget. It was probably a sponge, something like that, mop up my tears. And while I was waiting to pay, this video was still rolling. And I thought, well, I may as well watch it, see what this Western stuff's all about. And I saw him doing all this beautiful stuff with a horse. But I didn't notice till the end of the video that he was doing it all with no bridle. And he did a slide stop, and that's when I noticed there was nothing on that horse's head. And I was like, wait a minute!
How does he do that? Oh my God!
That can't be done. You can't do that, And so I said to the lady, in fact, what I said was, who is that man? And she said, oh, some Yank, which is what Australians call Americans.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And he's here doing a clinic. And I said, well, sign me up. Because if that guy can stop his horse with no bridle, then maybe he can help me. Because I can't stop from a trot, and I've got like $300 worth of gadgets on his head.
Right.
So I thought there's got to be something he can teach me here to help, get my horse to stop.
Yeah.
Because my horse was dangerous. He was a runaway, like to the max. Wow. Anyway, so I went along to this clinic. None of my friends would come. And they said, oh, what's a cowboy going to teach you about dressage? And I said, well, I don't want to learn about dressage. I want to learn how to stop my horse. Maybe then I could do dressage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I went along, and everything was the opposite of what I expected. Like, Pat was really friendly. He came out while we were all getting horses out of the trailers, and shaking hands, saying hello. And I didn't really know what to do to get ready for the clinic. I just thought, well, I'll saddle him up and hope for the best.
Yeah, off you go,
this guy's going to help me.
Yeah.
But, I saddled him up, and then this guy came up to me, who was one of Pat's helpers, and he said, oh, you're not going to need your saddle or bridle for this morning's session. And I'm thinking, oh my God, maybe I've signed up for a bridleless clinic. I suddenly realized I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And he said, no, listen, it's all right. Just bring him in on the ground, and that's where it's going to start. It's like, well, I guess we're going to lunge him or something. Of course, I learned the 7 games. I learned how horses think. He saw what a problem my horse was, because when I was trying to lead him in, it was going frantic, and I just told him, I said, I'm here to learn as much as I can, and I had no idea about the prey animal brain, none.
Yeah.
It was like, this is my horsey, and he's not behaving.
Right.
But then I was taught the psychology and how they think, what's important to them, and my horse was not disobedient. He was terrified. And
he was
I
trying to tell you.
I found it hard to accept. I'm like, oh, but I'm not scary. I love you, and I pet you, and, you know, I try to make you calm, and then you just freak out. But boy, did that change my life. I mean, in more ways than one. You know,
Absolutely.
the difference was unbelievable. So then, of course, I'm sold. It's like, this is it. You know, I've been trying for 2 years with basically no progress.
Right.
And in one session, my horse is completely different by lunchtime. And so I'm sure if you interviewed my horse, he would have said, you know, it took all morning, but finally that cowboy got that girl sorted out.
Yeah. Going, thank God, thank God.
Now he could understand me. We could have communication. And I just,
Finally.
you know, yeah. So that's how it all started.
Dreaming big and working hard and having faith.